So, Laura, yesterday we had the mayor of Tampa on, and he said, yeah, you know what? There got a lot of people, companies and people who are looking at moving to Florida. Are they going to keep them in Connecticut with this new device?
Well, this certainly is a way to really enhance the tax breaks for fund managers in particular. So a lot of the Northeast states, New York, New Jersey, were really upset about the new tax law that capped that property tax deduction. Connecticut found a way for owners of small businesses. So these are your pass-throughs, your law firms, but also includes a lot of hedge funds and private equity funds, a lot of which are based in Connecticut. So they can get a deduction not only on their property taxes, but also a bigger tax break on their carried interest, on their profits that they earn from managing the fund. So this is a big deal, and it was specifically sort of designed for these fund managers up there. And as people are kind of looking at, do I want to move to Connecticut, or do I want to move to Florida or Texas or one of these low tax states? This is one way to keep the high earners, people that pay a lot of tax, within the boundaries of Connecticut.
So, Laura, I took tax law a long time ago, and I don't pretend to be a tax lawyer, so I understand it. But simply put, where does the money come from? Because if they're not paying as much taxes, that means either the state of Connecticut doesn't get as much money or the federal government doesn't get as much money.
So what they've really done is sort of design this workaround here, essentially, where the business pays the taxes and the individual gets a credit here. Ultimately, it will reduce revenue for the federal government because people are going to be able to deduct more. What the law did was try to shrink the amount of this deduction. They used that money instead to plow into corporate tax rates, doubling the standard deduction, all the other stuff that was in the tax law. And this was one of the ways they paid for it. So we could see in 4 or 5 or 6 years after this all plays out kind of how the revenues are shaking out. However, it's important to note that the IRS still could come in and say, hey, we don't like this. We're going to invalidate this program. They already did that earlier this summer with some programs that had been set up in New York and New Jersey. Well, so this is something that the Treasury is closely watching.
Well, exactly. Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, said, no way, no how. We need all that money.
Correct. Yeah. And so this is something they have to kind of figure out, how they can do this. They can't just say, hey, we don't like this. We're going to invalidate this. They have to find somewhere in the tax code, which is, this thick. So there's lots of ways to do that. But so far, so good. But Treasury has said, hey, look, this is something that we're closely watching. So it is not a done deal like anything.
Yeah, but probably no coincidence. Connecticut, right? Connecticut, where all those hedge funds are?
Yes, yeah, that was there's two ways that you can kind of go about tabulating your tax break here, and one is very clearly written to help hedge fund and private equity fund managers.